3 best texts to send to that girl to make her fall in love with you. A lot of you have a hard time making girls fall in love in person. Let me put you on at least over text. 1. Alright, so look, when girls compliment y'all, right? A lot of y'all be like, thank you, love. Thank you, this, that, and the third. Dude, I already told y'all this. Y'all gotta be kind of different. It's cool to say thank you. Yeah. This is what I used to say. I don't say this no more because it's a little toxic, bro. I'm a grown man now. Just say, oh yeah. What this does is it puts in her head, and it makes her think, oh, he probably gets compliments a lot, or he's too cocky. But this is a thing girls won't tell you nowadays, is they low-key like cocky guys. And that's not that cocky just to say, oh yeah. The second best text to send her is asking a girl what you on. Don't say, what are you doing, bro? It's 2024. And girls been hearing, what are you doing since elementary school? Probably even middle school, bro. Elementary school. So just say what you want. This comes across more masculine as well. Bro, don't say, what are you doing, G? 3. This one is low-key messed up. Like I said, I don't do this. I don't condone this. Use this stuff at your own risk. But just tell her. Literally wake up at 4 in the morning, bro. This is OD. I don't condone this, like I said. And just text her. I had a crazy dream about you. Dude, what this will do is this will make you be on her mind all day, every day. Oh, that's toxic. But hey, before you do this, bro, make sure he's in your recent account viewers on IG. Just press right here to go to IG stories. And guys, I've been teaching y'all so much about girls. Please let me start teaching you about this. I just started this store. So y'all know I'm not capping. This is the real transaction app. Boom, bro. Give me the word ecom on IG. Take the risk now or lose a chance. You choose, man. I know you don't want to be working on 9 to 5 over summer.
What most men don't realize is that the way they message women is the exact reason they get ignored. Not because they're bad guys, not because they're unattractive, but because their messages sound like every other man in her inbox. Same boring opener, same predictable compliments, same energy that immediately tells her, this guy is trying too hard. So today we're going to talk about how to message women like a pro. Not with tricks, not with fake confidence, but with the kind of communication that actually grabs a woman's attention and keeps her interested in the conversation. Welcome to the channel. If you're a man trying to understand the modern dating world a little better, you're in the right place. I've spent years watching how men communicate with women, what works, what instantly turns women off, and the small details that separate the men who get responses from the men who get left on red. In this breakdown, I'm going to show you a few clips and walk through them with you step by step. We'll look at what's being said, what the intention behind it is, and why certain messages either attract curiosity or immediately lose a woman's interest, because messaging a woman well isn't complicated. Most men just haven't been taught how to do it right. 1. Stop sending boring openers.
Gracie, literally all you have to do is text her name with nothing else. She won't be able to help but want to figure out what it is that you need.
One of the biggest mistakes men make when messaging women is starting the conversation the exact same way every other man does. Hi. Hey. How are you? On the surface, those messages seem polite and harmless. But here's the reality most men don't think about. When a woman opens her messages, she often sees the same 3 words over and over again. After a while, it all blends together. Nothing stands out, nothing sparks curiosity, and nothing makes her feel like responding. Now, I'm not saying you need to send something outrageous or strange just to get attention. That actually backfires more often than it works. What matters is the energy behind the message. A good opener feels natural, a little playful, and slightly different from the usual routine she's used to seeing. Think about it like this. If you walked up to someone in real life and just said hi and stared at them, the conversation would feel awkward very quickly. But if you opened with a simple observation or a light comment, the interaction suddenly becomes easier and more interesting. For example, instead of sending a plain greeting, you might say something that shows you actually notice something about her profile or her personality. It could be about a hobby she mentioned, a place she visited, or even a playful comment about something she posted. The goal is not to impress her with something complicated. The goal is to start a conversation that feels human and relaxed. Women respond to messages that feel intentional. When your message shows a little thought and personality, It immediately separates you from the crowd. And in modern dating, standing out in a natural way is already a huge advantage. 2. Curiosity always beats compliments.
I think I'm starting to figure something out about you. Now she's curious. She's sitting there thinking, what do you mean? What have you figured out about me? And it's such a good way to build some flirty tension.
Another mistake many men make when messaging women is leading with compliments. Now, before anyone misunderstands this, compliments are not bad. Women appreciate being appreciated. The problem is that most compliments men send are predictable and empty. You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. You're so pretty. She has heard that many times before, sometimes dozens of times in the same week. When a message feels repetitive, it doesn't create excitement. It simply blends in with everything else. And when something blends in, it rarely gets a response. This is where curiosity becomes powerful. Curiosity invites a woman into a conversation. Instead of putting her on a pedestal, you're showing interest in who she is as a person. That shift alone changes the entire dynamic of the interaction. Think about the difference between these two approaches. One man says, "You're beautiful." That statement ends there. There is nowhere for the conversation to go. Another man says something like, "You seem like someone who has a story behind that smile." Suddenly, there is a small mystery there. It invites her to respond, to explain, or even to laugh about it. Curiosity works because it makes the interaction feel more engaging. It tells her you are paying attention and that you're interested in more than just her appearance. Women notice when a man takes the time to say something thoughtful instead of repeating the same line everyone else uses. The goal is not to interrogate her with questions or overwhelm her with messages. It's simply to spark a conversation that feels interesting and alive. When a woman feels curious about where the conversation might go, she's far more likely to respond and keep talking. And that's the real beginning of connection. 3. Confidence shows in simple messages. Something I've noticed after years of watching how men communicate with women is that many men believe they need to impress a woman with long, complicated messages. They think they need to sound extremely clever, overly charming, or perfectly funny every time they text. But in reality, that approach often creates the opposite effect. When a message is too long or feels like someone is trying very hard to impress, it can come across as forced. Women can sense that energy very quickly. Instead of feeling natural, the conversation starts to feel like a performance. And when that happens, the interaction loses its relaxed flow. Confident men usually do the opposite. Their messages are simple, clear, and easy to respond to. They are not writing paragraphs to prove their value. They are just speaking normally, the same way they would in a comfortable face-to-face conversation. Think about it for a moment. If someone sends you a short message that feels calm and natural, the conversation feels light. But if someone sends a long message full of explanations, jokes, and compliments all at once, it can feel overwhelming. Confidence in messaging is not about saying the most impressive thing. It's about saying something genuine without overthinking it. A short, playful comment, a simple observation, or a relaxed question can carry much more confidence than a long message trying to win approval. Women tend to notice this difference quickly. When a man communicates in a calm and simple way, it shows he's comfortable with himself. He's not chasing validation, and he's not trying to force a connection. And, ironically, that relaxed energy is exactly what makes the conversation more attractive and interesting to continue. 4. Playful energy keeps the conversation alive. One thing that separates a dull conversation from an interesting one is playful energy. A lot of men message women in a very serious or stiff way, almost like they're conducting a formal interview. They ask question after question, waiting for answers, and the conversation slowly starts to feel like work instead of something enjoyable. The truth is, messaging should feel light. It should feel like two people having fun getting to know each other, not one person trying to gather information from the other. Playful energy changes the entire tone of a conversation. It introduces a little humor, a little teasing, and a little unpredictability. When a conversation has that kind of rhythm, it becomes much easier for a woman to stay engaged. For example, instead of responding to everything in a completely serious way, a playful comment can keep things interesting. If she mentions something about her hobbies or something she likes, a light tease or a fun observation can make the conversation feel more alive. It shows personality, and personality is what people remember. This doesn't mean you should try to be a comedian or constantly make jokes. Forced humor is easy to notice, and it can quickly become awkward. Playfulness is more about attitude than about being funny. It's about being relaxed enough to enjoy the interaction without trying to control every word you say. Women usually respond well to conversations that feel natural and enjoyable. When the messaging feels too serious or too structured, interest can fade quickly. But when the energy is light, curious, and a little playful, the conversation has a much better chance of continuing. And in the early stages of getting to know someone, that energy makes all the difference. 5. Knowing when to stop texting. One lesson many men learn a little too late is that good messaging is not just about what you say. It's also about knowing when to stop. A conversation can start well, flow naturally, and then slowly lose its energy because one person keeps pushing it longer than it needs to go. I've seen this happen many times. A man has a good interaction with a woman, they exchange a few fun messages, and things are going smoothly. But instead of letting the conversation pause naturally, he keeps sending message after message, trying to keep the momentum alive. Eventually, the responses become shorter, slower, and the conversation fades. Now think about someone who is already in a healthy relationship. When couples message each other during the day, they don't feel pressure to constantly fill every moment with texts. There are natural pauses. Both people go about their day, handle their responsibilities, and then reconnect later. The communication feels balanced, not forced. That same principle applies when you are first getting to know someone. When a conversation ends on a positive note, it's actually better to leave it there instead of stretching it too far. Ending a conversation while the energy is still good leaves room for the next interaction to feel fresh. This shows emotional awareness and confidence. It communicates that you have your own life, your own schedule, and that messaging is simply one part of getting to know someone, not the entire focus of your day. Sometimes the most attractive thing you can do in a conversation is simply know when to step away and continue it another time. And that small detail often makes a much bigger difference than men realize. Messaging women well is not about using complicated lines or trying to impress with perfect words. It's about understanding the small details that make conversations feel natural, interesting, and enjoyable. When you avoid boring openers, create curiosity instead of repeating compliments. Keep your messages simple, bring a little playful energy, and know when to step away from the conversation. Everything starts to flow more smoothly. Women respond to communication that feels confident and genuine. Once you understand these principles, messaging stops feeling confusing and starts feeling like a normal, relaxed interaction between two people getting to know each other.